Got the memo that some people are active.
Somebody was going to be late. Alicia and Crystal's absent. Is that what's happening? Okay.
The crowd.
Well, for those of you who are absent, hello. We all say hi and we miss you.
Hi,
I hope you're having fun somewhere and we're sharing our screen. All right. Come back. Is that what we said? Come back. Shane, come back. Let's see, where are we? Moodle. That's where we go. Moodle. Can they see your password if you log it in on here? I will assume not. Cool. Hello. Anyway, so for those of you who came in late, we were playing around with this. This is the Google Cardboard, right? So this is a $5 piece of cardboard, and there's two lenses in here. And essentially what it does is it holds your phone in front of your face, and then you have an app on your phone that presents two slightly different pictures. Do you guys understand why there's slightly different pictures? So you can do 3D. So it does two things. First of all, it's doing 3D because you've got two pictures with each eye seeing a slightly different picture. And the other thing is it responds to movement. So as I move my head, it scans across this 3D world that I'm looking at. So it has become kind of a virtual reality thing. All right.
So is it called, like if I go on Amazon, you just go Google Cardboard?
Exactly. So let's try it. I did this the other day, so I know it's fun. And you say Google Cardboard. You get Google Cardboard, Google Cardboard, Google Cardboard. And you get some of them with the strappy things, some of them little plasticky things, and some of them come with a little remote control, so you can control your phone. So these are some of the high-end ones, $20.
Wow.
Very nice.
Oh, it's 10 now.
And then here's the thing, 20 pages of this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous how many people are out there. So, anyway, I'll pass this around. You can take a look. If you don't get sick, this is a little roller coaster thing. So you get to be in the roller coaster. Anyway, we were playing with it this Saturday, exploring what you can do with Google Cardboard. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to look in the sky, guys.
Don't look in the sky. Look all around. Make sure you move your head around so you can see that immersive aspect. I mean, there's this guy, this Harvard professor, and he got like, I want to say like $10 million to study VR in education, and he had this really intense thing with super fast computers and graphics and stuff, and you know that's $5. It's like, wow.
So is this good enough to be recommended when it's away?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. We don't have. Yeah, that one's kind of falling apart already. If you're going to use it a lot, I would get a better one. But I have here my hot little hands another one. We had a few extras from this weekend. We were handing these out to the teachers that came over the weekend. We had a science teacher fair. Here, you guys got spammed on that, right? I don't know if we did or if you did or not. All right. So I decided we should give one of these away in class today. All right. So I think the person who suggests the idea that we decide to go with for our research project, right? And I don't know how because some of the ideas are already out there. I'm not sure who claims them, so we may have to flip a coin or something if people are complaining, are claiming this or not. But anyway, the Google Cardboard thing, it's an idea, it's a technology that's out there. We'll find out what people come up with to do about it. The guy from Harvard who studied virtual reality in schools, I was never impressed. I went to like a dozen of his talks. I'd go every year to see if there was anything new, and there was never anything really all that great. It was, Chris Dede, D-E-D-E. At the time, he was at George Washington, which is in D.C., and he worked for the National Science Foundation, which gave out all the awards. Some coincidence, that. It's all being recorded. I hope no one forwards this to Chris Dede. He's a nice guy. But he's still got a ton of things. One of the things I noticed about this is your phone will stay on while it's running. So if you leave it there, your battery will run out and the phone will get really hot.
I guess it assumes that you standard like phone size.
Yeah, the big phones do not fit in that, but there are some on that Amazon list that will fit the larger size phones. Yeah, but it is just cardboard. You can make it fit. Right? One of the things I noticed is that if you close it too hard on my phone, it turns the phone off because the power button is right there. So then I have one at home where I just punch the hole in it where the power button is, so it would stop doing that.
So we have the video.
You can tinker with it. So there's some videos on there, some other things you can play with. I just downloaded the free apps, but then there's some that you can pay for. Did everybody get a chance to play around? Anyway. No, some do. I think you can do sound. You can do, I think, surround sound. So one of the things that came out was the New York Times. I don't know if any of you get the New York Times, but if you did, you have access to this. The New York Times is VR, and they've done several Google Cardboard presentations. I don't know what you call them. No, Google Cardboards. And the one that I saw was one where you're in a series of refugee camps around the world, and so you get to be in Ukraine, and then you're in like South Sudan. It's really intense because you're in the world. It feels really.
They're talking about journalism now becoming like a actual 3D VR sort of virtual reality. So the news are recorded by just experiencing what's going on.
I can see some of that. I mean, it's definitely a very different kind of a thing when you're in a really intense environment like that. It's not like just, oh, hey, here's a movie. You do feel like you're part of it, even if you're just watching it. They also have this thing called the cardboard camera, where you can take a 360 video of your room, and then people can get the 360 immersive experience. Well, yes. Although you don't need the cardboard itself to make the video, you just do this. Right. Yeah. So if anyone's interested in seeing my living room, you can check it out on. Anyway, so that's pretty fun to play with. We had a good time this weekend doing that. Cool. So how's everybody doing? All right. Good. Good things. A lot of stuff's going on. Right. Getting to a busy time of the year. There is, so of course the big thing that we're working on right now in here is those interviews. I don't know, has anybody got their interviews all done yet? You got your interviews done, but you haven't finished the paper yet, right?
I need to finish the transcript.
Cool, cool. Anyone having issues with the recording or anything like that? Is it? Definitely practice your recording beforehand, right? Oh, good old-fashioned transcription. Oh, so you're talking about doing the thing. Yeah, so we were looking at that earlier. So if you have a video, so this is on YouTube, and if you go to, I don't know, I always forget how to navigate YouTube, but if I go to my channel, then I can go to Video Manager, and then that gets me to all my videos, and then there's these edit buttons. So like this is the one from the open house. Right, and they've already, since this video has been up a few days, and it does take a little while for it to create the captions, right? And so you were saying, don't sit there and wait for it. It's gonna need to go for a day or something. But so if you go to edit your video, you can go to the subtitles here. You give it a language, and you say set language, and then we'll see. Does it have any subtitles? Oh, this one does not have subtitles. All right, so I'm gonna go back to that other video. The other video we were looking at has subtitles already. So that one's only from a couple of days old, so I guess it does not have anything yet. Really? Which one of mine?
Yeah, right there.
Oh.
A lot of times if you take in information from
if it recognizes some copyrighted thing, it will block it, and we had that issue in I don't know if you guys had any of that issue in 618 last semester, where like if you take a video and then you edit it and you've got a piece of some of the video, it can get blocked, and sometimes it's blocked in all countries, sometimes it's blocked. Yeah. All right. So wait, what was that other video we were looking at? There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if I go to the, I need to go to the edit button here. And that gets me to the YouTube editing features. Did you guys know that YouTube has editing features? You've explored this before? All right, good. So you can do enhancements, you can annotate and stuff, and then the last option over here is subtitled. And we were just playing with this right at the beginning of class. So these are my English captions that were created by the computer. Mostly like English. I don't know. Cool. Anyway, so essentially what I would like to do with this is download it so that I can edit it and have my transcript, right? So this is the raw computer generated transcript, and I want to edit that. It does allow you to download, and we were exploring earlier, we think either of these last two options seem to be pretty good. Here's what they look like. So basically you download it and you get this, you get the text with a timestamp. Right, so you just get text and timestamps when you download it. I mean, it's easy enough to delete the timestamps, and so you have a nice transcript, or you can fancy it up a little, right? But it saves you some time from having to type the whole thing out. So anyway, it's an idea. What was the other idea that we had for transcribing? Well, there's the old-fashioned way. You can always do that. That's always an option. Google Docs is the other thing. So if you go to Google Docs, not what I meant. Did you try it?
Yeah.
I have never tried that before. What's
Yeah, it was having a hard time keeping up. And obviously I stopped
All right. So if you talk, theoretically it can. Oh, I'd say allow.
Where is that?
If you talk, theoretically it can transcribe what you're saying. This is going to require very good audio on your recording, I think.
But if you already have the recording, how do you?
Well, you play it somehow. I think you just play it into your microphone. You're asking where's the microphone actually located on the computer? Usually, yeah, it's usually going to be near the fold somewhere, right? I don't know. Or maybe up near the camera.
The camera, yeah.
I'm not seeing anything on this one.
Near the pole, there. Why doesn't do it? Or the staple, that's what it was.
I don't even know on this one. Anybody know on a MacBook? All right. So how do you? So if you're done, how do you get this thing to go away? Oh, I see.
Wait, how did you get it started?
Oh, okay. Voice typing.
Oh dear, look at that.
And then you say click, and you say, Mark thinks this is really cool. And we're going to say back, this is really cool.
You have to make sure you talk slow.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is all a very rough translation, so we'll get what we get with these things. I don't know if there's a way to upload an audio file and have it processed that way. My guess is someone's working on that.
Well, you're going to get way better fidelity if you do that, because playing it back through rinky-dink speakers into a...
Or you can change your language.
Yeah.
You may use a smartphone.
That's pretty lovely internal mic using Dragon.
Yeah. So if you played it on your computer, would it? I don't know. Yeah, not sure. But if you do find out anything, let the rest of us know, and then we can all share info on how to do this the easiest way. What other questions about the interviews?
Are we writing about our interview stuff, like what we learned from our interview process, or are we going to write about the actual content of the interview?
Yeah, I think the content of the interview is the primary thing, right? So you really want to, you did these interviews, you want to analyze what you learned through those interviews. What did you learn about the subject you were asking about, right? Some people also write about, oh, I learned how to do interviews and I learned how to use this technology. That's fine, I don't have any problem with that. But make sure you talk about what you got from the interviews. That's sort of the practice, collecting research data kind of stuff, right, and analyzing it.
So what we
Does that make
found
sense?
out.
What you found out. Yeah. What did you learn about your subjects and then the way that they view the world?
I asked my students, I tell you what the subject is.
Sure. Yeah.
I told them, what do you think, what do you think that they learned?
Uh-huh. It's a series of tubes.
So but everybody had their own understanding, and like when one of the questions was, what do you think email is? What's the email? Explain to me how the email works.
Mm-hmm.
And they go like, when you make a message, it sends it in Wi-Fi. And then to that thing in the house that makes internet available. And then the further the destination, the longer it takes. And it says, so if I'm emailing someone in China, that's probably going to take 7 or 8 minutes. It's amazing how you feel, yeah, like amazing how you feel the kids. Just like Vijay said, I mean, they have their own perception of the world, and that changed the way I'm teaching another class.
So you've already learned something from it.
I don't want to
Yeah,
keep
there
on
you go.
going, but I mean, it really transforms your perception of what the class is.
What age kids was that question asked of? What is the internet? What age kids do you have that?
7th and 6th graders.
That was, it's was a computer.
Uh-huh. What is that thing?
I actually asked 9th graders, what do you think the computer is? It's an introduction to the hardware part of the lesson. And a lot of them said it's a device where you can store stuff.
Yeah.
That question seems like it's getting much harder these days, right? There's a computer in your television now. There's a computer in your toaster.
One of my questions was funny. What is the cloud? I said, what do you think the cloud is?
Right.
One of the questions was, what do you think the cloud is? Explain how the cloud works. But it's a storage place.
That's a little intense for sixth grade.
Wow. All right. I mean, you just want to know what they're thinking, you know? They don't need to have the right answer.
Oh,
Right? Yeah.
Have you seen their scratch work?
Cool. Cool. All right. So we're all good to go for this week, finishing those interviews?
I just want a quick question about the interview protocol. What exactly, can you give me an idea of that?
Oh, it's just a list of questions you're gonna ask.
Okay.
Right. It's generally pretty short. You don't want to have more. 10 would be the maximum questions I would recommend.
That's very,
1. I mean, you know, if you have one question and a lot of follow-ups, maybe, then that's enough. It all depends on what you're looking for.
We give them the questions ahead of time.
Make sure it makes sense for the subject you're working with, right? How's that? Yeah. And you'll get a good grade. Yeah, so yeah, there's not a real set thing, but protocol should be pretty straightforward. Just a list of the questions.
Here's what I'm doing. Here's the rewards. Here are the questions.
Yeah, it needs to be like a page or
One
less.
file, you want it all in one document?
Yeah, ideally if you can stick it all in one document, either as stick it all in a big long Word document, or have a bunch of documents and zip them together.
PDF?
PDF is great. Quite easily. Yeah.
We were embarrassed to ask last time, but I'm not embarrassed today.
That's good. Don't be embarrassed. So on a Mac, what you do simply on a Mac is you do a right click on something and you say compress. And very similarly on Windows, you do a right click on it and you say archive. It's built into the operating system now because it's just an essential thing to have. And now you know. Oh, you want to just send a link to a Google Doc? The permission form? Yes. Yeah, if you want to have a document with like some permission forms and a link to a Google Doc, totally fine. That works fine. As long as I can have access to everything and there's something on the Moodle that holds that spot, so I know you've turned it in. Yeah, Moodle. Yeah.
You can use the turning machinery in Moodle.
We are.
Well,
Yeah, you're gonna turn it in right here, where it says interview assignment. You're gonna click on that. You're gonna upload your file.
I will read it and give comments on the Moodle and the score. Yeah, we're gonna do the full Moodle this semester. Full Moodle functionality. Cool.
When I click on turn in assignment,
Uh-oh. Did I mess it up?
no, there's add submission. That's where we add it.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be where you'd add it. There's two
There's
different.
a bunch of stuff.
There's a couple of modes in Moodle. I think I set it up so that you just upload it and then it's in there. And if you want to change it, you upload a new copy, and it just replaces the old one. So there's another setting in Moodle where you can upload it, but then you have to say submit as a separate. Like you can upload a draft, and then it's up there in draft form, and then you have to press submit. And that just confuses people. So I turned that off. So hopefully you should be able to upload, and then if you change something, you can just upload it again. It does timestamp it, so I know when you're doing all these things. So there, yeah. Anything else about interviews? Are we good? Cool. All right, so a couple things, just two things to do today. We need to talk more about education research and make sure we kind of have a good sense of what the possibilities are for doing research. This is something we'll be getting into more detail throughout the semester. We want to make sure we have sort of the top level things, and we're going to look at, I pulled up 3 studies about flipped classrooms because that seemed like a good topic that are different. We can compare those 3 studies. The ethical standards for ed research seems to have disappeared. We've gotten rid of our ethical standards. They're all gone. I don't know. That's what happens when you have links. They get old. And I looked, and they don't seem to have them anywhere, so they're just gone. AERA, by the way, is the American Education Research Association. They are the big organization for people that do research in education. Their meeting is in Washington, D.C. in April, which I'm possibly going to go to, and we're definitely not going to have class that week.
What is that?
It's in mid-April. Hopefully it's already on the calendar. Let's see. So we've got spring break coming up, and then, oh, I didn't write anything. So this week, we're not going to have class. April 11th, we'll do some kind of an online thingy like we did last time again, because I will be in DC at the meeting. So yeah. So if you ever get a chance to go to AERA, it is a truly frightening kind of thing. It's about 15,000 people that study every possible thing about education, and they're all in one place. And it's just too many people there. But it's actually really fun. They have some great talks. They always have good parties there if you know the right people to ask. That's what conference is all about, right? It's just yeah. I used to run they have these groups called SIGs, special interest groups. I used to run the Advanced Technology for Learning SIG, which was we always had open bar at our events and stuff, which was good. It was a good SIG to be part of. But yeah, that was a while back. That was a long time ago. Okay, so let's get into this ed research stuff. So the top level stuff, there's this link here to types of ed research, and hopefully this is all stuff you mostly know about. But just to define some of our terms here real quickly. The sort of big type of research, the thing that people always say assume research is what we call an experiment. It's where we're comparing 2 groups to each other, and we were trying to see, does this group learn more than this group, or does this help better? And that's a really good way to do things, right? I mean, that's a way that you can tell whether one thing is better than another. It's not the only way. So don't want people to get hung up that you have to do an experiment to be doing research, because you don't. But that is sort of probably the sort of gold standard kind of thing, is if you can do a really good controlled experiment, then that's really good. Let's see, independent variable, what's that?
That's what we ask our students, that question.
Yes?
Yeah, what is it you're checking for? What thing do you want to go change?
Right.
To see oh, I changed this and I can infer that this thing over here is a comes from that.
Yeah. So the independent variable is what you're doing, right? It's that thing. There's a couple of other terms. We should probably add these to this list as well. Sometimes it gets called the intervention, right? So what's your intervention? What are you doing different from your normal class for this thing? What's your innovative thing that you're trying in your study? That's going to be your independent variable because that's what you're controlling. So maybe period 1 we're going to teach in English, and period 2 we're going to teach in Esperanto, and we're going to see which one works better. That's a bad intervention, but you get the idea. What's the dependent variable? What's that other thing? Right. So that's the thing that changes. That's the thing you're measuring, right? That's your outcome, right? So I think that if I teach in Esperanto, everybody will fail my test. So my test is that dependent variable, my test score.
You don't know Esperanto.
I don't. Why am I wrong about that? That would be good. Yeah, so that would be really weird. Cool. A hypothesis, of course, is your prediction. A lot of people say it's a guess. It's not supposed to be a guess exactly. It's a prediction based on some theory, based on some idea about how education works and why this intervention ought to work. Another important type of study is an observation study. It's not an experiment. We're not testing two things, but you're really just observing to see, hey, how does this happen? So let's say my school is going to go to one-to-one computers. I can't run an experiment on it. The whole school is going that way. Right? I could maybe compare to a different school, but that's a different school, and they've got different kids, and they've got different stuff. There's too much different about that. Right? So if I tried to do that as an experiment, it probably wouldn't work well. But I could really be a close observer and take detailed information about how this process works, and then be able to write intelligently about the transition to a one-to-one classroom, right? And that's a perfectly good research project. Yeah.
And that was kind of answer the question of I'm going to use this and I'm not going to use this because it's unfair to students. Like if one group is able to use this and one group's not, yes, you are experimenting, but you might be damaging them. So
Yeah. So
makes up for that issue, right?
Right. So this is part of that ethical issues, which doesn't exist anywhere. So let's say I think that my Esperanto class is going to be way better than my other class. Is it fair to those kids to teach in this bad way that I think is bad? Right? I mean, are we really okay with teaching a bad class? Now, in medical science, the answer is yes. You are okay giving the placebo to some of the people because that's the only way you can really determine if something works. And that's true in education too, but that still doesn't make people happy if they're in that bad class. And so often what we try and do is we try to sort of minimize that, and we'll say, okay, for 10 weeks I'm going to teach with these two ways, even though I think one way is better than the other. And then I'm going to sort of either reverse it, or I'm going to teach both classes in the good way for the rest of the period, the rest of the semester, to sort of mitigate the damage. Does that make sense? I mean, it's one of those things where we recognize that doing an experiment is really important, but sometimes if you really don't want to teach in bad class, we don't like to do it that way, right? That's not why we got in this business. But yeah, as you say, if you're in an observation study, you can teach the way that you think is best, and then sort of observe it. And sometimes you can do something called like in fact, one of the papers we're going to look at uses this term quasi-experiment, right? So maybe I'm doing an experiment where I'm comparing my students this year to my students last year. Now we call that a quasi-experiment. Why? Why is that not a real experiment?
Good. You have to set the conditions of they're not firmly set. They automatically change in the case of your example if they're a year older.
Mm-hmm.
So is the experimental outcome because they're a year older or because of your own intention?
Yeah, I mean, even if they're the same age as the kids the year before, it's a different year, they had different experiences, they're a different cohort of kids, and we know that cohorts can vary a lot. There's a whole mess of reasons why they might be different, in addition to your intervention. Right? So we call that a quasi-experiment. It's not a great experiment, but it is kind of an experiment where you're comparing previous years to current years. And something that's very related to that is we call it design experiment. Design experiment is kind of like a planned quasi-experiment. Where the idea of a design experiment, and we won't really get to do this in here because it requires a lot of time. But the idea is designing something for education is not really like science. This is more like engineering. We are designing our educational environment and our curriculum and our pedagogy, right? It's more like an engineering thing. So we're gonna try something, we're gonna design our class, and we're gonna see how it goes, and then we're gonna tweak it and do it again, and see how it goes, and we're gonna tweak it and do it again. And that sort of iterative refinement, that's how engineers work, right? That's how they build things. And so that should work also in education, right? And so that's something we call a design experiment, where you're sort of planned to do this sort of tweaking, and it really requires that you have some kind of measures that you can measure every year to see, hey, am I improving or not? I need to have some good metrics that we can have that. So the quasi-experiment is kind of when it happens by accident or after the fact. You say, oh, I want to try this and I can compare to my previous year. Design experiment is where you plan for that in advance. We also use the term action research. That just means research that we do on our own classrooms. It's not really a type of research, but it kind of is because it's very common because there's lots of people getting master's degrees doing action research. And you know, you've got your class. I mean, we probably experiment in our class all the time. So we don't really write it up as a thesis, but we always try things in class. Right? Has anybody done an experiment in that class that they would explain, tell us about? What's something you've done? Okay.
And then I saw online a lady that had changed it to like try so that it's an immersive experience. They're getting for grades and for education.
So it's sort of enacting the book?
Enacting it.
Okay.
This is a whole book, so like each chapter has a set like task they have to complete, and it's very, for the kinesthetic learner, they love it. For the book learners, it freaks them out. They have to like do things. So it was an experiment. I did it with one class. And do it with another class.
I see.
And although the noise level did not make me a fan among the teachers, the students loved it. And so the class I did do it with, that's where I got the whole observations they got letters from parents. I was denying them their education.
Which class do you get more letters from, though?
It was the English, the typical standard English.
They were wishing they were part of the immersion?
They were wishing they were part of the immersion.
Okay.
They're high school students, and they like
I could see that.
But yeah, so it was, yeah, you don't write up.
So then did you conclude that that's the way to go in the future?
I did. So that's what for the last 3 years is how it's happening. There's a lot of work on mine, and I make interviews with all the teachers. The kids enjoy it. And they remember it.
Do you warn the other teachers it's coming?
Okay.
You may hear some squealing pigs.
Yeah, we got onto the field, they have to start like rock. They have to design certain things. And they say almost and English. And then I get to go by like kids that are really good and not worry also.
That big day, yeah, okay. What can you make them a parachute from a dead alien? Yeah.
Yeah, we throw things off the bleachers.
Anybody's glasses get broken? Anybody's glasses get
No,
broken?
we try not to. No, we don't kill anyone. That's part of the rule. But they can take their child member's house, and then they have to do the whole lesson on their own. They always try to find a new child, or they overthrow their leader, because it becomes a book.
Wow.
And the girls hate it.
Right. Anybody else tried anything in that class? What's something you've done?
There's this thing called brain integration therapy. Somebody named Diane class, and basically I had a special day class for students who were spectrum disability and on the spectrum. But there are a few kids who were just way below grade level. And they were like 6th, 8th grade. And this one girl was like an 8th grader, and she hadn't gone on the first grade level in 5 years. And so this brain integration therapy is basically a series of exercises that's supposed to coordinate to hemispheres of the brain.
Okay.
Do written exercises, physical exercises, So I incorporated it into the class and I did it the first school year, and actually it kind of worked. I mean, the girl that I was particularly targeting went from a low first grade level to a high first grade, almost a second grade level within one school year, which is progressed several years. So, and then it turned out I did some sort of research on her medical background, and there had been a problem for there's some oxygen deprivation. So, and it actually did help the other kids to very well. So it actually gave her a lot of confidence. Because she's actually not really good. She's quite athletic. That's the strength. So,
Interesting. So is that something that you would then continue after that?
yeah, actually, I just recommended it in my district. My boss had a bunch of many things for going to the classroom. Like, after that, I switched jobs and I worked with a specialist department. We go in and we have the books, manuals, and videos and stuff. We explain it. And it's also fun. It's something you can do for just a few minutes every day. There's this thing where you have a big piece of paper and it has these two big circles, like a sideways feet. And what the kids do, they sit there and they just write, hey, they go to the whole alphabet. And in the beginning, they have a really hard time staying on the guide, but over time, they're able to follow it pretty well. It's very dedicated people. And if they cross the line back and forth, and then the actual exercises that they do, there are a lot of things like circle their thumbs, and they don't go ahead, and they have to have to follow. And what happens is, in the beginning, some of the kids, you see their eyes like freaking out because they have very coarse imagery and then you basically just practice. And there's like 10 different exercises, and it's fun, so we do it like after recess and lunch.
Interesting.
And it's kind of, one thing I don't know how much of it was like help calm them down, and how much of it was actually like to demonstrate working better with this one particular girl. I think she almost went up the whole grade.
Very cool. So it's a kind of observation study you did. So you tried this thing and then looked to see if you saw some real effect.
Yeah, and very specific data, dates,
and you could compare it to what they had done before.
Right.
Right. Cool.
So these numbers be used in our class project that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, good question.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and actually, what's interesting is that these were all based on exercises that like coaches and physical therapists use at home to get them more coordinated. And this person decided to try it out with kids who are having trouble. You know, like when you have a baby, they look at most teachers that crawling, and then they always say that if you have a kid, you don't want to encourage them to like walk without crawling because it's a very specific skill they're gaining when they're crawling. So it's sort of like they figure, maybe part of the reason they're sort of having trouble is what you did naturally.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, as I was saying, I think a lot of us have tried things in our class. Sometimes they're bigger studies like this, and sometimes it's just, today I'm gonna, try calling on the different students, or little things that we do to sort of mix up our pattern and see if things work a little bit better. So we're constantly doing kinds of action research, right? Cool. But we'll be a little more formalized in this case because we want to collect some data and really be able to analyze it well, which is often the thing that sort of gets left out when we just do sort of our own ad hoc experiments. When we're talking about collecting data, we've got qualitative data, and as we talked about last week, any type of qualitative data you've got can be quantified, right? So even, having kids enact Lord of the Flies, I could come up with some kind of a scoring thing for that and give each kid a score, and then I've got quantified data. So anything can be quantified. But collecting qualified data, interviews, survey questions, observations, anecdotes, stories, even if you didn't witness it firsthand, if some kid tells a story, that can be an interesting piece of data. It can be an important part of their experience. Then of course we've got quantitative data, test scores, demographics, gender, age. We can look at things like SES. What's SES? Yeah. What do I mean by that? Socioeconomic status, just generally how that gets it. And we use it as a euphemism for how rich or poor are these kids, and how many issues is going on, because that's highly correlated with very poor neighborhoods.
Free lunch status gives you an estimate.
Exactly. So a lot of times people will use that free lunch test, although you only get it typically by school. Can you get free lunch status by classroom? Maybe you can. Okay. Cool. So that's often gets used for that, because that's already a metric that's out there. Attendance, do people show up at class? That's always a good thing. Do they turn in their homework? Can you use grades as a measure in research?
You need to say how to calculate it, yeah. Why not?
Yeah, you need to make sure you're being really diligent with how you're doing your grading, right? Sometimes when we grade people, we say, oh, they've been trying so hard in class, I'm going to bump their grade up, right? If you do that, it messes up your research, right? That's not ideal. So, but if you're being very careful with grading, then that grade can be a perfectly good data point or data set that you can work at. Cool. And in studies that involve both quantitative and qualitative, like we talked last week, that's what we call mixed methods research. And pretty much I'm going to encourage most people to do that whenever possible, because it's good to have different types of data. There's this idea called triangulation, and I'm not sure why it's not on this page here. I'm going to put it on there. What's that?
It's been away with ethics.
Yeah, no, well, we'll add it back. We'll have to put an ethics page. This website grows every time I teach this class, so we'll add these things that are missing. The idea of triangulation is you want to get multiple types of data that say the same thing, right? We're trying to get we're trying to get information from different sources that give us kind of the same result. Or maybe not exactly the same, but related information from different data sources. So sometimes you're going to do some interviews, and I'm also going to run an intervention with my class and do some test data. So I've got test data and I've got interview data. And we use the word triangulation with the idea that if you have three types of data, that's sort of the ideal. So you can triangulation is where does that come from? That's like locating GPS would be triangulation, right? You get 3 satellites to tell you where you are on the planet. So it's about finding locations of things. I'm not sure where it comes from originally, but that's sort of the idea. And then if you have different data points, then you can really figure out where you're at. So that you'll see that gets used sometimes in discussing research methodologies. Right, we talked about the different types of case studies. Alright, cool. Alright, so those are the basic ideas about education research. Let's take a look at some examples so we can stop being very abstract and start getting to concrete information. Why is that important? Since you all read a chapter on transfer.
You don't want to generalize what you have learned in one place and apply it.
Yeah, we have to have the specific and we also have to have the general. This is the general ideas. We need some specifics to be able to connect this to. So let's go back to the Google document. Sorry, not the Google document. The Moodle for this week. What I have here is I linked 3 different papers here. We've got the, I just labeled this flipped classroom study, in part because they didn't use the word flipped classroom, which kind of annoyed me. I'm calling it that. And so we've got 3 papers here. The first one's from IEEE. It's an engineering organization, and they have a journal that they put out. So this is the IEEE. Which one is this? IEEE Transactions.
These guys are pretty standard because they're using the word phrase experiment right there.
There it is. Neat. And then this paper is in the Journal of what does that say? Oh, Life Sciences Education. All right, there it is. Cool. What do you look for in a journal? You guys looked at articles a little bit last semester. What do you look for? First thing when you see an article, what do you want to look at? Pictures, title, figure out what the topic is. Where it was published is a very key thing. When and where, what. So when, obviously, you want to know how old it is. You know, especially if you're dealing with technology stuff. If it says 1995, that's pretty dated. Doesn't mean terrible, but pretty dated. We're actually going to read some tech stuff from 95. In here. But anyway, so the date, but also the where. What do you want to look at with where?
That's the stats. That's the good or the kind of cheap.
Yes. Exactly. So you want, there's a whole range of journals out there, and some of them are very difficult to publish into. You have to do draft after draft, and they keep rejecting you, and then you finally get it in, and those papers are really, really good. They've been vetted, they've been sort of scoured and improved a lot. And then you've got some other journals that are out there that will publish almost anything with very minor edits because they couldn't be bothered to really tell you what they're saying. And then you've got still other journals. Maybe you thought that would be the bottom. No, there's this new thing that's come out in the last year. They're calling them predatory journals. Basically, they will publish your paper if you pay them. More or less sight unseen, and they look like real journals, but it's just garbage. And it's primarily an issue because people get promoted when they publish a lot of stuff, and so if you publish in these journals, they're sort of red flags, and they say, oh, why'd you publish in there? And then part of the metrics that everything has become really stats nowadays. So if you want to show that you're the world's most important researcher, you say how many people have cited me, right? So you guys looked at Google Scholar, right? No. Oh, what did y'all do last semester? All right. You gotta know Google Scholar. Google Scholar is your friend. You just gotta love certain things Google does. So Google Scholar basically is a database, scholar.google.com, of articles, right? And you've probably seen things like Eric. Did you look at Eric? Okay. Eric, you've seen? So all the stuff that's in Eric is also in Google Scholar. And so you can look up things like flipped classroom, right? And it gives you a lot of things on here. And of course, it says things like cited by. So this paper was cited by 350, and it gives you the top paper is the one that got cited the most, or has the most important citations. And so this becomes like a metric, and people can go on and they can see how many times did my paper get cited. And so of course what they do is they publish some papers in these bad journals, and then cite all their other papers. So they get all these citations, right? They busted this ring of professors who are citing each other to bump each other up the things, and so they all get promoted. It's pretty sad. It's disappointing. So most of the stuff in Google Scholar is going to be peer-reviewed. I won't say everything. I mean, some of it is books. Books are sort of peer-reviewed, depending on who the publisher is. Although the standards are a little bit different depending on the book. Yeah.
If you use the resources from the library here, the database resources on there's a checkbox when you search for articles, peer-reviewed. Right.
Cool. Yeah. You can usually tell this first one here. It's something called Education Next. My guess is that's a magazine, not a journal, right? So that's probably not peer-reviewed. But then if you look at something called like Journal of College Science Teaching, it's definitely going to be peer-reviewed. That's an academic journal, and it's going to use the normal academic journal type things, unless it's one of these fake ones. Right? It's hard to tell those. I'm not very good at spotting them, and so I'm not expecting you to be able to know. Oh, look, you can see I have 41 citations, because you can have yourself on there and you can check out all your own stuff. Woohoo! That's right.
No, fortunately, around here, that doesn't matter too much. But if you're at what we call an R1 university, you guys know what that is? Research One University, they're the ones where they spend all their time doing research and occasionally teach classes. Then it really matters where you're out on that thing. Around here, people don't really worry about it too much. It's just nice. Yeah, so the place, you know, if you're at a UC or something like that, the world is a very different place. And this stuff becomes much more important. But this is very useful because you can help you find things. Now, the articles are not on Google Scholar, right? So when you were doing searching on ERIC and things like that, you can often download articles, and you probably learned about if you're at CSUN, you have access to certain articles. You know about this? Right. So certain things you have access to because you're at CSUN, and if you try it from home, you will not get the same access to journals. Because CSUN subscribes to certain journals, and any of those journals, you can access those articles online for free. So the way that you can do that from home is you do this VPN, right? You guys know about VPN? Some people. Alright, I gotta talk to Chang. Alright. Yeah, he does help some other stuff. Yeah, but. Alright, if you Google VPN CSUN, you will get. So VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. Many of you have those at school and places, other places that you've worked. And also, this is a way to get around various, YouTube blocks. When Hare was in China a few years ago, he wanted to do Google Docs, and that all gets blocked in China, so he VPN to CSUN, and he was able to show everybody. I broke several laws in the process, but but it worked. Basically, you convince the network that you're at CSUN. So basically, you route all your network behaviors through CSUN, and then you would have access to all the journals that CSUN has access to. CSUN does not subscribe to a whole lot of journals. They have a few, like the big ones. They don't have a whole lot. If you have access to places like UCLA, you'll get access to a lot more journals. So if you're an alum or something like that, you can get in through the alumni network and access. But anyway, so if you go to the VPN page, it'll show you how to do it. I'm not going to go through it right now. Basically, you download this piece of software that basically says, oh, you're going to connect through CSUN, and then it reroutes all your internet connectivity to that. It's pretty straightforward, and you use your same password that you use for your email and everything, and for Moodle. So anyway, so that's VPN. Feel free to do that when you're home.
Could it be inappropriate to bring up the Russian Pirate Bay with every research article on it?
Probably. You already did, so go ahead.
Yeah, it's, remember the guy killed himself, Aaron Swartz killed himself a while back because he stole a bunch of articles from MIT, posted them, said it's kind of gave him a hard time, he figured he'd come down. Well, this person stole the rest of them, put them all on. And it's called, that was there, and some of these publishers are, trying to shut them down, but they moved it a couple times.
Well, Pirate Bay does a lot more than journal articles.
Well, no, this isn't Pirate Bay, that's just a metaphor for, trying to see what the name of it is. Oh, Sci-Hub. Yeah, Sci-Hub went and stole all the fancy articles, and the way they did it was, they got
How do you spell it?
Sci-Hub, S-I-A-T-B.
There's like all those articles you see.
Yeah, they're all, they broke the paywall. Well, I mean, that's the name, we should look it up, that might be it. That's it, so they stole them all. And the way they did it was they got logins from professors who felt that the paywalls were gotten out of control. They had logins from professors from lots of different colleges. Use those every time somebody requested an article through this Pirate Bay backdoor. They used that login at that university to get in any time that it basically stole them all.
So it doesn't look like they have them all.
Big splash. It's certainly appropriate to bring it up here in class in the sense that this may qualitatively change the terrain of journals in the university.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of agnostic to the journal business. I mean, it's important what they do, but I review articles for journals all the time, and they never pay me anything, so I don't know why I'm paying for the articles. I'm volunteering my time for it. I guess somebody is paid to something. I don't quite know exactly what, but anyway, yeah. So, interesting. I don't know anything about Sci-Hub. Yeah, because the court cases are trying all that intellectual property things and all those. Celebrate thing in the intellectual property law.
Cool. So if you're on Google Scholar, one of the nice things about Google Scholar is it'll often tell you if there's a PDF. So you can see a lot of these, somebody has posted a PDF somewhere in the world. And sometimes those are legal and sometimes they're not. But, hey, if you can get it and you need it for your paper, it's a good thing. Because we're all working on papers late at night. We don't have time to go to the library. In the old days, you'd go to the library and you'd photocopy stuff. And this was before phones could photocopy things. Right, so you had to get your copy card, drag the books down from the 4th floor to the 1st floor, put your card in the thing, and then do the old. Man, it is so much better now, especially if you can access the stuff you need in the middle of the night. Cool. Anyway, so when you see an entry like this on Google Scholar, the cited by is really useful. And you notice that that's a link. I can get a link to all the papers that cited this paper. Right, so if I have a paper that's really good and I want to find more things like that, this is a great resource. So cited by, and then I get, everybody in the world who cited that same paper, and you can get a real sense of the whole field and how people are interacting with each other. Also, you'll notice that there's this different versions thing. So sometimes you'll get, this is like the official version for the journal, and then somebody, posted a PDF somewhere in the world, and Google found it, and so you can see there's all sorts of different copies of this particular paper around the world. And then my favorite thing about this, and if you guys, did you write like an academic paper last semester? Have you talked about APA format a little bit? Okay, good. So you gotta cite things with APA format, right? So, and I do this all the time. I'm too lazy to figure out how I'm supposed to type this through the format. I'll search for the paper and I'll have the paper in front of me, right? I can just type it. But I'm lazy. So I go to Google Scholar and I type in the name of the paper and I go, cite. And I say, APA, copy, and paste. Because that's so much faster than typing stuff, Anyway. So, yeah, sorry about that. But now you click on cite, you find a different thing. So this is APA format. Notice that there's other kinds of formats. What's MLA? English teachers love MLA. I don't know who does Chicago. There's also the science one, which is a different format. Different fields have their own way of citing work. Like if you're in science, typically all you get is like this cryptic thing that says maybe the name of the first author and an acronym for the journal and a date. Whereas when we cite things in education and psychology, we put the whole name of the title of the article and all the authors and the name of the journal like that because we like to have a little more info.
But before you leave that screen, if you do cut and paste, you can cut and paste clearly. But there's automation on the bottom of the page where you can click on that.
Yeah, and these are all programs that will keep references for you. I used to use EndNote a lot. I now don't need to. I just copy and paste.
But if you use EndNote or if you use automation now, you get the bibliography, it's all automatic. In Word, if you use the Word APA template, then it's like once you reference something here, it brings the bibliography thing, sticks it on the bottom.
Yes.
And Word does that.
Absolutely, yeah. So these programs are they have a lot of features, and if you're going to be writing a lot of papers, it's really worthwhile to invest in that. But probably for this program, I'm not sure you need to pay a lot of money for EndNote software. That's like
the commercial here is, and this is legal, is Zotero. Gives you all that for free.
Yes, we're going to talk about Zotero, because that's also another good thing.
The thing you can pay the program software, our office is free for teachers. That's the latest version.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that the online one?
We've got the
Office 360?
Yeah, you gotta log in with your,
I didn't know that.
email, but it's always free.
And it works well? I used some of their really early stuff and it kept crashing on me, so I got a bad impression of it, but I should definitely try it again. Yeah. And then apparently Schoology is a really good thing now too. This is what I'm hearing from teachers. Anybody use Schoology? That was a terrible website like 5 years ago. And I was like,
I would joke, and I never looked at it again. Apparently, somebody said that LA Unified is trying to merge with, like, their Mises with Schoology. Schoology, is that it? Alright, I gotta do research on this too. Things we're learning. So alright, back to our focus. Yes, and so we have the Google Scholar is very useful finding out information about your research. So as soon as we figure out what our topic is for this research project, we're gonna all go out and do some research. And so using Google Scholar or using ERIC or some of the other databases that are out there is gonna be the way to do that. Cool. Now you've all seen that. I'm gonna talk about Zotero another day because I don't want to get bogged down. Yeah.
The way you run this slide, it means that you're using the option key that you just clicked on, and you want the sliding board and just copy and paste, and it's all done there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
This is right.
Now, you guys know about how a research paper works, so that you cite something in the text, and then you've got a reference list at the bottom. You all did that, right? All right. Well, we'll go through it, even if you don't not remembering it. Good. Okay. Cool. Well done. Cool. All right. Well, so let's take a look at the research article. All right. So let's do this. Yeah, it won't take too long. We want to look at these 3 articles, and I just briefly showed them to you. This is one evaluating web lecture on human-computer interaction course. So web lecture is the keyword there. Web lecture, I guess the web lecture intervention. And then the second article is Learn Before Lecture, a strategy that improves outcome in a large introductory biology class. And then the third one is an article from Edutopia, 100 videos and counting, lessons from a flip lesson. Alright, could we just, I've got 3 things and we're kind of in 3 big groups. Can we just group ourselves that way? Alright, so, and you guys are smaller in the middle here. Alright, so who wants 100 videos and counting? Which group would like to do that one? Who's loudest about this? Alright, 100 videos and counting. Who wants the Learn Before Lecture? Who wants the Evaluating Web Lecture? You've already got one. Do we want to rearrange? Do we want to? Let's keep it. We don't really care too much what the paper's about. We're just trying to figure out the methodology they use. Alright, so we're going to do web lecture intervention here. Learn Before Lecture over there. Is that okay? Yeah, you got the you've got the 100 videos. Alright. So let's just take hold on. Let's just take a few minutes. I want you to look through the structure of the paper, the different sections that are there, and figure out what kind of methodology they use, what kind of study did they do to get what their answers. Right? And what did they conclude? Right? So those 3 things. The structure of the paper, the methodology, and the conclusions. Let's see. Are we still recording? I think we're still recording. Which one? It's really high tech, right? That's what George was saying. Yeah, we gotta figure out what it is. I don't even know how that is. Does it seem to be the whole video when you did it, yeah. Structure, methodology, conclusions. So in part on ourselves, right? Yeah. So take a few minutes to look over the paper and then talk to your group. I think they're about the same length. Conclusion. What did they conclude? Alright, let's see, where can we put this? I know. Let's make a slide. Oh yeah, thanks. Here, sure. That's good. That's a good start. Okay. Alright, I put up a slideshow. We can just put the results that we found on this. And I posted this to the Moodle page, so you might need to refresh your page here. And then you should see. Alright? I don't have a list of all your emails. I probably do somewhere. Cool. Yeah, everybody with the link can edit. Well, that's actually works because Google's already at their firewall. Yeah, we're good. I trust y'all. Only one at the Girl Scouts. That saves me a bit. They have a fast. I have. Yes, but I think most of them get sold by me bringing them. She does bring the wagon around the neighborhood, so. There's a lot of competition. Right. Just need that first level of award, and that's good. It was really fun that we did scratch with her. That was really cool. All the flavors on the outside, and almost like a real one. Alright, so what are we going to put on this? We're going to put structure. You might need more than one slide. That's fine to add a new slide. We want to do structure, we want to do the methodology, and the conclusion. So we don't need all the detail. You don't have to read everything in great detail about the literature review and stuff like that. But we just want to sort of scan it and get the main idea. What are we doing? How do we access it? Yeah. I mean, not everybody needs to write. I mean, probably one person in group to do most of the writing, but however you want to do it, you certainly can. It's one of those cool things. What's a chupacabra? The structure is not all over the There's 2 learn before lecture pages. But it was she was telling me about it. You know, I don't say anymore. Focuses or creation of it really focuses the So here we've got the structure, so they got all the, look at the headings and stuff, so we can see the whole structure of the paper. Well, it's weird, so you're showing up on some computers and not on others. I don't see it. What's this? Oh, a chinchilla. You can be a chupacabra or a chinchilla. No. Yeah, sometimes you can be a diamond cat or a liger. How do they know what the chupacabra looks like? That's loud. Which one is the whoever's green. No, I'm not the person. I just want to look at this one. That big? Yeah. You've been identified? Yes. Alright, so 2 more minutes? We do this in 2 minutes? And then we'll just briefly share out Did y'all come up with some kind of structure? Was there any structure in that one? No literature review. Okay. Are we good? Are all three groups happy with what they've got? Almost? Should I do a countdown? You set up a timer. Wasn't that one of the suggestions? Set the timer. Okay, which group wants to go first? You're volunteering then? Which group would volunteer themselves? Let's do that. That's more traditional volunteering. Oh, that's very thoughtful. Okay, who's up? You really want some cookies? I got some cookies. I want some hot. That one's already gone. We've got... Okay, back to work here. We've got some more things to do and we're running a little short on time. Alright, so, tell me about the paper. Excellent. So the structure had an intro, a web lecture, which is the first explanation of technology, motivation section, which is like literature review, as well as the related work on the experiment section for research, then section result, feature work, and conclusion. The methodology 2 sections of the course of the course, illustration serves as the control group with a traditional lecture format, and the other experimental section had variable between the web lecture and classroom setting with devoted hands-on activities. The conclusion was the experimental group's grades were higher than the positive data. Very nice. Simple. We got the structure, the methodology. Do you have any questions about that? That sounds good. So with your structure thing on top, sounds like a pretty traditional academic compartment there. It's a little different. I mean, they use different headings, right? This is IEEE is they're a bunch of engineers. They're not your traditional education research people, and so it's a little different community, I guess I want to say. The HCI community. Do people know what HCI stands for? It's human-computer interaction. So the people that study how to make your Microsoft Word program not be so annoying to use. That's actually a whole field of research, is to try and improve the experience with computers. It does seem like they're going backwards, but Believe it or not, there's people who are professors of human-computer interaction, and that would be the people that are publishing in this journal. And so they use slightly different structure, so you can see that they're not using the sort of traditional lit review section. But that's all right. We understand that they're using more or less the same kind of information in just different labels. So not quite as straightforward as things. All right, let's go on to the next one. Learn before lecture. Who's gonna help us out? I would call that. Not everybody uses that term. That term hasn't gotten totally wide use. I mean, people in certain parts of the education world use the term design experiment, but I'm not sure everybody is familiar with it. So they had 6 questions that were in common. They probably asked more questions in the final, but they had 6 questions. They're what we're doing. Cool. And the conclusion? Small changes introducing active learning activities. Oh, so not just reading, but And what did they conclude? That was good? That some of the small changes? Is that what you said? Yeah, it was interesting that this was in a list of flipped classroom videos, because it wasn't really a flipped classroom, right? Because they were still lecturing in class, but they were pre-doing the lecture. That was interesting. That's not what I would call a flipped classroom. You guys talked about flipped classroom last semester, right? You know what flipped classroom is, right? Wait, so we know what do we mean by flipped classroom? What's the idea? Lessons? Yeah, no. It's a academy model where you say, okay, if I do this and then I'm going to have homework. There's a lot of confusion here, okay? Yeah, the idea is that with the traditional class would be lecture in class and homework at home, where you're doing problems and things, and you flip it and you watch the lecture on a video at home, and in class you work the problems as a group. That's kind of the idea. the lesson times, so the students will prepare the lesson for themselves, and I mean, they watch the video, they sort of, well, the teacher usually makes the video. Yeah, and the students have done the, what if there's no video, that doesn't make it qualified as a classroom. What if they watch someone else's video? I mean, I'm not sure there's a strict rule on this, it's a fairly new term, but, it's kind of a lecture, it's a free-standing lesson that you use during class. So, like, you would yeah. Where the students are supposed to go and learn this stuff. What if he doesn't specify it? Just chapter 1, go prepare. So the use of any multimedia and the preparation process qualified. I have a particular perspective on this, which may not be widely shared. But some instructors must lecture. They feel like if they don't lecture, they're not doing their job. And so if we can switch that lecture to be a video format, so they can get done at home when students probably are watching TV or doing other things at the same time. So it's probably not going to be that effective anyway, but ultimately that lecture is probably not the most important thing you do. It's the problem solving part is probably going to be more useful in the long run. And so if you can spend more time on that in class, so they're focused, that probably gives you some learning benefit. Anyway, so I don't want to get too much into that because we're supposed to be talking about research methods and stuff, but it is a big idea sort of in education technology at the moment, or maybe 2 years ago or something. These things can be very fleeting. But the idea of flipped classrooms where you spend your time in class doing group work, being really engaged, and being able to help students when they have trouble, as opposed to speaking to students who have to sit silently and watch you, so you can't get any feedback from them. That's probably much more effective, right? We've had several people do flipped classroom research as part of this master's program, including Jake Chips from Jake. His study turned out great. A number of people also like using Khan Academy, so they don't have to make their own lectures, they just send people to Khan Academy, and then they come back and they're ready to go for the next day. Khan has a particular way of explaining things, which annoys some people. And it's somewhat boring, especially the original ones where it's like him writing on that blackboard thing. These are inscrutable. They're getting better. He's got all this money from Gates Foundation and other places where he's making better videos. So making interactive videos for Java. And a lot of what Khan is like investing in is this quiz thing that's now part of it. So you watch a video and then you take a quiz and it gives you feedback, and there's this really elaborate teacher dashboard so you can see where all your students are at and how they're doing on these various quiz things. We'll get into talking about some of that and why that's a good idea and where that comes from. But in terms of understanding the flipped classroom, I think this is kind of important. What did that the last paper say about flipped classroom? 100 videos. What was this about? Basically, the teacher had an idea he was just going to create videos for his students to watch them. And so I guess he quickly realized that it was more about, it was more important for him to create substance over style. But by doing that, he said that it allowed maybe it's just like, oh my god, there's lots of video because you never imagine you recording those. It's really, you mean to watch a video or to do homework? To watch the video that you provided. Okay. So you didn't know in advance 3 or 4 days where you
Mm-hmm.
and then he started up the videos he was you could stop the video where you wanted to have an expression your definition of every first usage of YouTube, which we realized that there was no way you could actually go to it watch the video.
Mm.
Right? Right. So, what did he end up putting him? What was it called? He called it. I've never used it, but yeah, yeah. I mean, you could also do it on things like Zaption and some of those other tools. Oh, really? Well, Zaption, often the video is on YouTube, and then Zaption has sort of an overlay on it, right? A lot of those Zaption videos are actually on YouTube. Yeah. Also, they can the YouTube forensic the thing I was trying to remember about Zaption before, it was part of the TIM study, TIMSS, and the professor at UCLA was, now about that. Never mind. Anyways, but Zaption actually comes out of a line of research that isn't here in LA. That's cool. I can't stop with that. Cool. All right. So we looked at 3 different versions of papers. So this last study, it's very much like telling a story, right? This is sort of an observation piece. Not a lot of data collected, right? Did he have any kind of data? He had like data he used data he changed it to So this is very anecdotal. That's probably not the best case. I mean, we'd like to have some a little more systematic observations and stuff than what happened here. But it's published in more of in Edutopia, which is more of a magazine type of thing. It's not really a hardcore journal. Let's sort of write about the Edutopia. I always look at the comments on things like this. And one teacher wrote in saying, I've been doing this, and I'm trying to get a factor of merit. What students think about my lectures. And he says my lectures all get 8 and 9. I can't get above a 5 with a video. So the students say, hey, what level quality is this? But he's trying to characterize his own work. So it's like the same lecture given in video form will get a lower score? Why should it get a 5? What's the basis? I'm sure the content's fine. But the level of engagingness and impressions about art in this commenter's observation. Interesting. I find it so often of things like this, reading the comments, it's sure shooting somebody's going to talk about something I didn't think about. Oh, there's a criticism on your last or virtue of it, or whatever it was, she said that I didn't know about. And it attempts to do some comments on things like that. Who's that really annoying woman with the lipstick? Miranda, yeah. There's so many of those. It's an amazing world. So if you're competing with that, you may just be in trouble. Cool, alright. Well, back on topic here a little bit. So we saw 3 different research methods. One was a really sort of serious experiment. One's more of a quasi-experiment and more of an observational thing, so you can see sort of how that works. And they can all fit into research in a certain way. The last one would need a little bit of work to put it into more of a journal format and some more data.
but you can sort of see some of the range of what counts as education research, right? So we're not limited to just one type of thing. We have a lot of sort of variation in what we can do. And I want to segue from this into, hey, what are we going to do, right? So we need to do our own research. We want to run a little research project on this. Any last comments on flipped classrooms before we switch? We're not done talking about flipped classrooms, but just for today.
One quick question.
Yeah.
If the presentation or the lecture or the video was just any sort of multimedia, like probably a screen capture or
Be podcasts.
podcast, or you're doing some sort of a slideshow or something, or you want to include articles.
I mean, you trying to post slides with audio or something?
Like, I mean, you're pushing a bunch of things, meshing things together. I mean, but that's what qualifies like the lesson. It is a part of the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, having people sort of get direction and get instruction outside of class, I think anything like that would probably qualify. Most people think of it as a classroom. Anybody try flipping in any way a little bit? Right. Yeah, there was a movement to try and use, what was it, iPods, right? And load up people's iPods with videos so they could watch, because everybody had an iPod, but, that's like 4 years ago.
I tried that. I wouldn't say it's a true flip classroom, but I do.
Oh, so like an assignment that they're doing online?
Something that goes along with the chapter that
Is that the con video? Is that you? And he's just up the hill at United Health. And so if you want to find out about derivatives, you can go in here and watch his lecture. Where did you understand this word? There he is. Cool. So yeah, this is it's a very intense. He did an independent study class where he built all of the videos, and then he did obviously the research as for his master's. It was a fabulous project. Not everybody's going to do anything like that. Don't get intimidated. Well, all right, let's get back to the near term. What are we going to do in the very near term? We're going to do a short-term research where we study something about our classes that we can try a little bit. We had a bunch of ideas last week. Let's take a look over some of these ideas again, but see if there's anything else we need to add to this, and then we need to do some voting to see what's going to work. I think we should add his physical thing, because that's something we were talking about. Integration therapy? Yeah. And there's research science, and it's doable every class. You can search a series and compare between him and Carol. Because I work with really, I can have a lot of one-on-one that can share and you can just really demonstrate this class and then they can Carol and try it. Sorry, I'm trying to get to edit that page here so we have it. If you want to look at this list, we had it from last week. It's the ideas for common research. Alright, so here's our list. Alright, so, and that was called the brain integration. The high school kid would know it was weird. Calming music, do we have that on here somewhere? Alright, so let's see, we've got present a statement of objectives to begin in class, let students pick their own seats, do some kind of exit ticket, possibly with a digital exit ticket, different desk arrangements, a noise meter, candy to reward good answers, chocolate before tests, to inspire personal interactions with students, letting students listen to music, that's that calming music. So they listen to their own music, And what I noticed with one class is that the whole time they were just on YouTube looking for music. And the work was getting like less and less short with time. I'm shocked. I was just walking with their headphones. And then for the second group, I said, no headphones. That's it. So I think if I could build a standard music channel on my control, I would consider that. Alright, back to our list. Focus, keep the focus. The other ideas were physical activity, wake students up in the middle of class, or just give them a break. Just try some, put a camera in class and see if that makes sense. Have students use acupressure, I can't remember, was it a hand? Acupressure people, the expert will say, you squeeze this part of your earlobe or whatever. There's some that, that's concentration. Obviously, it does cause the kid to focus in on the little physical comfort. That's fairly true. Whether or not the concentration to acupressure is fine. But by telling them, oh, when you do this, you will notice you're affecting better, which is obviously not a suggestion. I think that works. Cool. I understand what you're saying. Other ideas included working with the lights off, doing Google computer tests, controlling the temperature in the room, online testing. I guess that's pretty similar to that with Paradise. Doing a quick write, type questioning, clickers, quick write, something like that in class to quiz the students. Randomly picking students to call on, burning incense, and burning anger therapy. Anything else that has come to you in the past week that you think maybe? Would you characterize as gimmicks? And which of these things do you think are sort of serious educational? If we vote for it, we'll try whatever we want. I'm just asking. Sorry, what are you saying? That may well be true. Yeah, we don't have to decide exactly how we're going to do it. We can just have that idea of something like class Flojo as being the thing and then work out the details later. Instance might be bad for some people that might, yeah, okay. I think that's pretty good, pretty reasonable thing. Yeah, right. So it's not gonna work. It's certainly not gonna work for all class. Yeah, I'm tempted to keep it on for now because if there's a way you can do music, I mean, it may not be a thing anyway. I mean, there's certainly some classes that can eliminate lots of different things because, I mean, you probably couldn't use a noise meter for music. I don't want to eliminate too many things for unusual classes, things like that. But I think things like incense and chocolate are going to be problems in enough classes. Alright, so we want to do some kind of a first round of voting where we let people pick like their top 3, top 4, something like that, and we can see where we're at on this. What do you think? Alright, so let's see, how are we going to do this? Yeah, just trying to see. So we can do that. So you're suggesting that if I do a scale, a grade, is that what you're talking about? Okay, 2 boxes, alright, and then, that's right. Alright, I like it. Alright, so we're down with the, add on in case people have brainstorms. What else can we get off of this? Come to the room, we said was no good. Chocolate and candy. Sorry about that. You can still do it in your class, that's alright. That should be a reward for something, clearly. Voting. About the superpowers. Voting round 1. Hold on, not there yet. It's anonymous voting. Alright, if we refresh the page, you can see voting round 1. Should take you to this page. Untitled question. Yeah, I just put it on under today's, at the bottom of today. Oh, can I do that? I can do it right now, right? And where's the, at the bottom? Only select 4. Seems like that works. There's no more done button, huh? You're done. Alright. I should probably make it a required question then. Alright, let's try it. Let's see if we vote. What do we get? Alright. Wonderful. Yes, you can vote for your own. You should vote for your own. Yeah, just once. Oh yeah, you didn't measure it, so let's vote for Alright. Submit. The other one to submit is. Did they translate it the same for like forms? Is that good? That kind of good on forms. I'm sure they do. Oh, now you're getting serious. I should probably try to keep it simple. Total votes. Now we're looking for. This was round 1, right? We're gonna still, we need another round in this. We're not quite done. That sounds pretty easy.
was it that was going tonight? Yeah, didn't you say you had a thing? Oh, the fundraiser, okay. And you were just getting them kicked off, getting them started?